This is Scott Spears welcoming you to another episode of Scott Spears Now. Now, we're going to have a series here of 2 episodes with our new friend here at the radio station, Matt Morgan, who joined us recently during the primary election of 2023, and has become a fixture on the Friday night program, which can be heard every Friday night, 8:15 to 10 p.m. right here on WGH Talk. 2 easy ways to listen to this. Go to the website, wwgh1071.com. It streams live there 24/7. You can also go to the archives page to see episodes of this under Scott Spears. Or you can download the absolutely free TuneIn app on any mobile device, smart television, Alexa, Google Dot, Smart TV, and listen to us anywhere in the world. Absolutely free, and people do. Matt, good to have you here today. The first episode, our first hour, is going to be getting to know you, and then the second hour, we're going to do current events like we do on Friday night, and possibly talk about the WGH fight song and some other things that have been going on Friday night, nicknames, so on and so forth. Now, Sean Kraft joins us on Friday night, and we have had a series of women come and go on Friday night. Let's talk about, before we get to the women and the Friday night, tell us where you were born and your childhood, which was about 10 minutes ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty close. I was born in Marion.
What year? Give us a year.
Give us a year. Okay, 2003. I was born in Marion, 2003. My mom and dad their names are Rebecca and John. They're fantastic people. Same thing with my grandparents, amazing people.
Now, what do you think it is that allows you to have a good relationship with your parents and grandparents? A lot of people don't.
We've been a family-oriented family for a while now. There was a while, like every Sunday, where my grandma would throw a cookout. So we just have a cookout every week, and like everybody would come. So for a large majority of my childhood, we spent a lot of time over at my grandma's house and over with like my cousins and whatnot.
Now, what have you learned from your family?
What have I learned from my family? I've learned a lot from my family. Like, they taught me how to fish and how to hunt. Taught me how to work on cars some. Teach you how to manage money.
You have a brother.
I do have a brother.
Now, what's that? You lived with your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. You left him right off. I don't know what was going on there.
I mean, that's going okay. I wish I didn't have to pay bills. Bills are kind of lame, you know.
Would you say you have a tight-knit relationship with your brother?
Yeah. Probably closer than the relationship with my sister.
Now, what's the age difference between you and your brother?
A year. Well, 2 right now, I guess.
And the age difference between you and your sister?
Also a year. Well, closer to 2 on my sister, actually. She was born in 2005.
Now, why do you think you're closer to your brother than your sister? Just age or gender?
Me and my brother share a lot of common interests that me and my sister don't. My sister likes to cheer and sing and do that kind of stuff. Me and my brother like to watch football, and we play video games together, and we listen to the similar music, do similar things. It's just a lot easier to spend time with Caleb than it is Kaylee.
Now, when we look at the whole situation, would you say you're a protective brother of your younger sister?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's been a while since I've had to do anything, but when she was in, middle school, there was some kid who kept, pushing her into, a wall when she would just walk around. And then I just, was like, hey, man, what's up with that?
This is what you walked up and said to the boy.
Yeah, we were leaving school one day, and he was at a water fountain, so I walked up to him, and I was like, hey, man, leave my sister alone, or I'm going to push you into a wall.
Oh, so you threatened the boy.
I mean, yeah, he was messing with my sister.
Now, but do you think he might have liked her? Because that goes on a lot at that age. You know, you step on the girl or something, or you punch her, but you really like her. You know how people are. They're nuts.
I mean, it's possible. My sister definitely had no interest in that kid.
So it didn't come to blows with you and this boy?
No.
Now, if it had, would you have followed through on that threat?
Yeah, probably.
You would have just had to lay him out.
Yeah.
Right there. Well, but do you think that we should solve our problems with violence? Or maybe we should just use words?
I don't think violence should be the number one option, but if you have exhausted every other outlet of solution, then violence is the only outlet left to go to.
But isn't violence in a lot of cases illegal? Battery. It's battery.
Yeah, yeah. But like, I don't know. If I have if I had a reason to like fight somebody, I would assume that that like they're not going to call the cops on me. They're equally going to want to fight me as much as I do them, unless they're just taunting me so they can call the cops on me.
So do you like a good fight?
I do. I like fighting.
You
Fighting's
like
fun.
fight. Now, when we say fighting, what are we talking about?
Just like
We're talking about like boxing or WWE stuff here. What are we talking about?
yeah, like more like boxing. I like boxing. I don't know how to do like any like fancy ground stuff, but like I took boxing a little bit when I was younger.
What do you make with that whole MMA craze? Because people will get into the restaurants when those pay-per-views are ordered. They'll pack the places. It's a very interesting thing that they want to see people maim each other.
People have been doing it for all throughout history. Back when they built the Colosseum in Rome, the whole bread and circuses thing, they literally built bread and circuses to distract the people of Rome from how bad their lives were. So they just held gladiatorial combat and like things like that.
But I don't know that they made money off the pay-per-view like these people do today.
Well, no, but back then it was more so just to give them something to do so they weren't constantly looking at, like, the Caesar and being like, man, our life sucks. This guy's doing nothing to make it better.
Now, what school did you go to?
I went to River Valley.
River Valley. Now, what did you make of River Valley? What kind of student were you?
I was smart, but I was lazy. I always had all my teachers tell me that I could do better, and I was like, yeah, I know, but, like, I don't really care. So I just never really tried in school all that hard.
Were you in any clubs or play any sports?
I did Vex Robotics. I did football for like a year or two.
Now, what is Vex Robotics?
You build a robot, and every year there's a different like competition that you do, and you build the robot to compete in the competition, and then there's a driver, and then you just compete against other teams. Usually it's a 2v2.
Very interesting. So, football. What did you do on the football team?
I was either center or one of the tackles.
Now, would you say you were popular in school?
I don't think so. I think popularity is overrated. I think I was popular when I originally got to River Valley because I told them that I had played football at Cardington. But I didn't like the popular kids at River Valley. They were uncool.
In what way?
They were just, I don't know, they were just rude. I feel like they thought too highly of themselves to actually have any real, like, I don't know how to phrase it, but like they just thought so highly of themselves that I didn't like to be around them. They were arrogant.
They were arrogant.
Yeah.
Do you think they knew they were arrogant?
100%.
They knew exactly what they were. Well, when you say popularity is overrated, what do you mean?
Like, what is popularity really good for? Like, when you graduate high school, congratulations, you were the popular kid in school. Guess what you are now? Nobody. Like, straight up. If the friends you had in school, if you managed to keep them, cool. Most people don't. I know I don't talk to anybody but like maybe 2 or 3 people that I went to school with because none of them are worth keeping around. I didn't like River Valley. I didn't really like the people at River Valley either.
So going to school is like a chore for you at this point.
Yeah. When I went to Tri Rivers in 10th grade, well, I guess it would have been 11th grade, but when I signed up to go to Tri Rivers in 10th grade, I was literally thinking to myself, it can't be worse than River Valley. And it wasn't. I enjoyed Tri Rivers so much more than River Valley.
Now, what did you do at Tri Rivers?
I took automotive.
So, what could you do to a car?
So automotive teaches you, in my opinion, to be a glorified parts changer. It was fun, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they teach you very much. Like, they taught us how to change oil. They taught us how to do run a brake lathe, but like brake lathes are kind of outdated now because most people just buy new rotors when they buy new brakes, so there's no real need to know how to use a brake lathe. It's not convenient anymore to just lathe the brakes. I could change brakes, obviously, rotate tires, basically just simple things.
If your car broke down on the side of the road, would you be able to fix it?
Maybe. Depends on what it is. I'd be able to be able to see why it broke down.
Cars are so computerized now. Isn't that the ultimate problem there?
The computers are supposed to make the car run more efficiently, like save gas and whatnot, so you don't have to use so much gas for like enough like output. It's just the machines give basically is fake horsepower. It uses less gas but gives it more power.
Now, as you were going through River Valley and Tri Rivers, did you have any college plans or idea of what you wanted to do when school was over?
No. Like, my friend dad told me he could get me a job at Anheuser-Busch when I turned 21, so I was literally just waiting around to turn 21 so I could go work at Anheuser. He told me that he could get me hired in there. That's a good job. He works there. He's been there for a long time.
Now, what would that job entail?
So I'm not sure what I would get hired in as. I'd probably be on the floor, like actually like working on like the assembly lines for the beer. But he has been there for long enough that he gets paid like $35 an hour or something like that. And he basically told me he sits in his office all day, but like an hour when he has to go down and actually fix a machine that's broken. So he's just a repairman for the like assembly line at Anheuser.
Now, when did you start working at Kroger?
It would have been 2019 or 2020.
And how have you found that?
Working at Kroger?
Yes.
It's okay. I like the people I work with, but I don't enjoy corporate, and I also don't enjoy the union.
But you like the people.
Yeah, I enjoy the people I work with.
So you stay with the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you think during the pandemic it was nice to go out and be around people where other people were secluded?
Yeah, probably. Like, I don't like not doing things. Hanging out with people is what I like to do the majority of the time. I don't like to sit around the house and do nothing. I feel like I'm wasting time.
Now, between 17 and 19, the pandemic was going on. What was the pandemic like for you?
It was interesting. We did school online, and then the next year we did school half online, half in school. They passed literally my entire well, not my entire grade, but they passed the majority of my grade based on quarter 3 grades, because everybody when they went to computerized learning just didn't touch the computer. So the majority of my class, including myself, would have failed that grade because we didn't do anything on the computer.
So do you think that hurts society that there's a whole group that's coming out that really did not finish their education?
Like, when I went to graduation, there was actually a guy who said the opposite. He said that he's excited for our graduation, or for our generation to grow up, because we had to go to school and learn and like overcome and adapt to COVID, whereas it's something that has never happened before, and we just kind of made it work.
Now, at 19 years old, what has been the biggest thing you've had to overcome?
Biggest thing I've had to overcome. I had a blood clot.
You had a blood clot.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about that.
I had a blood clot in my left leg in like 10th grade or 11th grade.
Now, how did it feel? How did you discover this?
One day me and my friends were at Zoomers, and then we were getting ready to leave, and when we were walking, it was like winter time, so I was like walking through a foot of snow doing like, high knees, and then all of a sudden my left leg started to really hurt. So I started to like run to his car, because just like the slower I moved, it didn't like make it hurt any less, it just hurt. So I just started running, because I was like, if I get to the car, it can't hurt if I'm not moving. But I got to the car, and then I limped the entire rest of the day, and the next day my foot, my left leg was stuck like straight out, and I couldn't bend my ankle. And if I put pressure on it, I felt like I was gonna tear like the tendon in the back of my foot. So like I had to crawl to the bathroom that morning so I could go to the bathroom, and then I had to wait for my mom to get up to take me to the hospital.
And when they said this is a blood clot, what happened then?
They gave me some IVs, and then they told me that I was going to be transferred to a different hospital. They were originally going to put me in a helicopter, which would have been pretty dope, but then they said it was too cloudy, so they gave me an ambulance, which was lame.
So you went to the hospital. Were you fearful at any point?
I don't think I was fearful. I was more so. I don't know. I wasn't happy when when they told me I was gonna be transferred to a different hospital, cause I hate the hospital. I do. And then they were like, "Oh, you're gonna have to be transferred up to." They wanted to transfer me to either Akron or Columbus, and they sent me to Columbus. But I was like, "No, I just want to go home, man. I'm not trying to be here all night." And then it turns out I was there for like 5 or 6 days, and then I was laid up in the chair for like 4 months.
Now that's a big deal. So what did they actually have to do to fix this blood clot?
So they had to take out the blood clot, obviously, and then
Surgery.
They did surgery. But they also gave me a bypass. They basically gave me an extra vein to make sure I'm getting a good amount of blood flow to my left leg. Because one of the problems I was having was like when I would be at work, like getting carts or something, I'd get like pins and needles in my left foot, and they said that's because the blood clot was not letting me get like sufficient blood flow to my feet. So it was just pins and needles of not having blood. My foot was going numb.
Now, did you ever think that something like this could happen to you at such a young age?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody ever thinks they're really gonna have a blood clot ever, anyways. Especially at my age.
So when you're going through that at a young age and it's happening, do they come in and say this is the worst case scenario?
No, but you do get treated differently than everybody else does. Like when I was in the vascular care center, they kept wanting to treat me like an 85-year-old man because they're so used to just like old people being the ones who have blood clot. Like every time I'd have to move over to another bed, they'd like get doctors in and be like, "Hey, do you want us to lift up the bed and put you on this other bed, or do you want us to let you just scoot over?" And I was like, "I can scoot over. Right? I'm fine. I got 2 arms and a working leg. I can scooch myself over. I'll be cool."
So as the how big a scar did you have here? How big was the surgery?
The surgery, it took like an hour and a half longer than it should have, I think. And I have 3 scars. I have one on the left side of my left leg, one on the right side, and then one down by my ankle.
So you go home at that point and you have to stay seated for 4 months.
I mean, I didn't have to stay seated per se. I could have laid in bed. But when I was sleeping, I had to have my foot above my head, above my heart, not my head, so I could make sure because it hadn't had like proper blood flow because it had been cut and whatnot. When I actually stood off the bed, it hurt because like the blood would rush down to it, and it wasn't used to getting blood, so my body had to like regulate it when I got out of the hospital because of the whole bypass.
What did that experience teach you to be laid up for 4 months?
I honestly felt good when I went back to work. I was just super, like, nobody wants to go to work, but like when you're laid up for 4 months, 5 months, I was just like, man, I could be at work right now, I could go fishing, but I couldn't do any of that because I couldn't move, I couldn't walk.
Did it make you have empathy for people who maybe are like that all the time?
I honestly never thought about it, but yeah, now that you mention it, I guess it, it does. That's rough.
Can you imagine the people who are paralyzed, who can't walk for life, but they adapt?
I'm glad for them. Well, I certainly was having a rough time adapting. It was rough.
So when you were finally able to get back on your feet and go back to work, what was the first day back at work like?
I volunteered to go out on carts like 4 times.
Which is the roughest part of that job?
I don't know if it's rough. I like carts. I used to not like carts before surgery, but after surgery I like carts a lot more. I think it's because I knew what it was like to not be able to use my leg, and I was like, oh man, can't do that.
It's interesting. You brought this up on the Friday night show we taped last week, that you had lost a lot of weight. Now, was that the period of weight loss?
Yeah. Like, when I got done with surgery, I was losing weight after surgery. When I came back from work, I was losing weight. I know that the blood thinner I'm on, you can lose weight from, but not like directly. It's like suppresses your appetite, but I feel like I eat normally, so I don't know.
So when you were going through all this, did it change any way you were going to go in your life?
I don't think I made any like necessarily conscious changes, but I did make changes. Like I used to drink a lot of like energy drinks and whatnot, but I don't drink energy drinks all that much anymore. I drink them on occasion. I don't drink so much pop. I usually drink like water, Propel, Gatorade, that kind of thing. Cut out all the pop and a lot of sugar. I'm not a big fan of sugar or chocolate.
Do you have a philosophy when it comes to life?
Do I have a philosophy?
A philosophy.
Work hard at whatever you're doing, because if you're not working hard at whatever you're doing, there's no point to be doing it anyways.
That's true. Now, that's a very good philosophy to have. Now, why do you think most people follow that philosophy?
I don't think so. I don't think most people know like the value of work. Like when I went to school, there was a lot of people who, like, I went to school with this kid whose dad owns a multi-million-dollar construction company. His dad drives a Camaro, picked him up every day from football practice in a Camaro, and I don't like that kid. Because I don't think he knows the value of work. I don't think he understands the time and effort that his dad put in to make that multi-million-dollar construction company, and he's just going to get handed it.
But do you think money can ultimately make you happy?
I think you need money to make you happy. I mean, like, I know that, like, money can't buy happiness. I just don't believe it. Like, if you think money can't buy happiness, you're just not doing the right things with your money. Like, you don't need, like, money can't buy happiness with material things. But, like, you can't do anything without money. You can't help anybody without money. You can't fix problems without money. You can't create things without money. You can't help anybody or yourself without money. It's just, money is the rule of life.
Now, this is interesting, because if you are a person who is, let's say, broken, do you think you can fix them by just throwing money at the problem?
I'm not sure. I know they try.
They try, but how often does this succeed in life?
How often does it succeed? I'm not sure how often it succeeds, but usually when they pay people for things like that to make it better, you don't hear about it anymore. But I don't know that it actually helps them, like, overall, completely.
Well, it's an interesting thing, because I wonder if the new generation coming up does place more interest in money than maybe previous generations have. You know, there was a generation in the 60s and 70s that thought money was the root of all evil. And then the 80s and the 90s came in, and people thought, well, you need money, but it can't fix everything. So now is the idea that money can actually fix everything?
Well, there are just, like, a lot of problems on, like I like to help people. It makes me feel nice when I help people, and I can't help people, like, forest fires, like the one up in Canada right now. It's so smoggy here because we're right across from Canada. You can't help Canada if you don't have money to put out the fires.
But I think Canada has money, but I don't think they can put out the fires.
It doesn't seem like they're trying.
I don't know. I think they're trying something up there. I think something's going on.
Well, I don't know.
And we certainly have money, and we're not trying to... I mean, we've done what we could, but we haven't stopped this, and this is a pretty unusual thing going on. Like, if somebody drops dead, is money going to make you feel better? Going to help that situation in any way?
I mean, it could temporarily. I wouldn't suggest it in the long term. It's not. Things like that aren't good for your mental health.
Well, like, do you pick your friends and the people you surround yourself with based on money? Because it's interesting, because the boy you said had money, you did not like. But if you would have gotten good with him, he could have bought you the things and paid for everything that would have made you happy, according to your philosophy.
You gotta be happy doing the things you make money doing, and you have to make money doing the things that you like doing in order to live.
But you wouldn't have to do anything with this boy, but yet you did not like him.
I didn't like him. That's why I wouldn't take his money.
Right, but if money fixes all the problems, he could have been a way to do that. But you wouldn't even attempt that because you did not like him. Based on his money.
It's not based on his money. I'm friends with people who have money. It's just based on him. He always just acted like he was better than everybody else. He always had like the nicest clothes and he would brag about it. He was the kind of like bully people for just not having as much money as him. And my God, you don't have any money. It's all your dad's money. Your dad's buying you things.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you think you can buy people? By buying them things and taking care of them and so on and so forth, do you think you can make them like you?
I think so. I mean, I don't
You
know.
do.
I don't know that, like, I think you would have to like them in the beginning already, but it would help, I guess.
When you meet somebody and you don't know anything about them, you don't know what their money is like, you don't know what their financial stream is like, have you already made up your decision if you like them or not?
I don't think choosing friends based on finances is a good decision.
So, I guess, so you're just saying personally, you've got to have money.
Yes, personally, you have to have money. You don't have to be like, you don't have to have friends that have money, or like you're like yeah.
Yeah, but can you buy friends? I guess is what I'm saying. Can you buy friends? Can you buy relationships? Can you buy those when really the underlying thing there is money?
I don't know that they'll be real, but you could definitely buy friendships. Like, it might even be real in the person's head whose friendship you're buying, but in reality, if you didn't have money, they might not be your friend in the end anyways.
Well, that's the thing, and I think that's what it all boils down to. I think if you're always putting out money, or you know there's money involved, do you ever really know if the person likes you or you like them? If the money is the underlying reason here?
I think in life you have to pick your battles, and in order to do some things, you have to like sacrifice others. Like, a lot of successful people have terrible relationships with their families because they spent time working on their career or their job, their business, whatever, instead of spending time with their family. They made the choice. So their family might not like them so much in the end, but if they did it all for their family's going to reap the benefits.
But does it fix the problem that they can never get back? That they weren't there? It's very interesting. I'll tell you why I'm bringing this up. I know a very famous person very well. And they said to me one time that they have a good relationship with their grandkids, but that their grandkids don't visit them like they visit their other grandparents because they were working hard achieving their goals when the grandkids were younger. And the other grandparents were just retired and they were around. So being around mattered more than the money and the prestige that came from the other set of grandparents, who they end up not really knowing.
Yeah. Like, so relationships are all a basis of familiarity over time. How much time you've spent with somebody doing things that you enjoy doing with them. So if you weren't around because you were busy building your career, building yourself, doing whatever you had to do, it would make sense that your grandkids would like the other grandparents that were there more. It's just familiarity over time. They spent more time there. They know them better.
We are going to talk broadcasting right after this quick break. Don't go anywhere. Hey, Scott Spears back here with Matt Morgan, part 2 of this episode. Don't forget, next week we're going to do current events, so don't you dare go anywhere. Matt started with us here at the station back primary time. Primary election of 2023. We're going to talk about that here in just a few moments, and then what's going on doing the Friday night show and the other experience he's had with us here at WGH Talk. But we're talking about, and it's a very interesting subject, can money buy happiness? And I think Matt wants to clarify what he was saying in the first half, that it's doing good acts, like maybe giving to charity or helping people who don't have any money. But in one-on-one relationships, whether they be friendships or relationships, can money really buy anything?
No. So like in personal relationships, money's not worth much of anything besides, like, I don't know, money, I guess. But like nobody's gonna like be your genuine friend because you have money. But like, you could do a lot better if you had money. You could like donate it to people who needed it. You could like fix problems. Like you could donate money to trying to figure out how to like, I don't know, change climate change. Like you could just
The big things.
Yeah, like you could try to solve the big like point issues.
Now, but if it comes to, like, you've been in a couple relationships in your life, would the relationship with the girl be better if you had money to pay for her?
I don't know. I don't like the concept of having to pay to pay for her anyways.
No, but I mean, in the end, that's what a lot of people do. I mean, this is an age-old thing where the guy pays. Not only pays for dinner, but he pays for everything in the beginning. And a lot of times relationships go south because that does cheer somebody up to be pampered and paid for, but that doesn't last forever.
Yeah, so like sorry. Relationships that are based on like money or based around material things or like, I don't know, that kind of thing, they're not going to go very far because you have to spend time with the person that has the money and whatnot. You're not spending time with the money. If you don't like the person, it's gonna be a rough ride if you're just in it for the money.
Not to go too deep into this, but don't you think that people fool themselves into thinking they like the person because obviously the person is paying for them? It takes quite a while to eventually learn who that person is.
Yeah, I think so. I think that you could definitely convince yourself that you like somebody that you don't like, and then like you could probably not even realize it too, but like the moment that they stop helping you or giving you things, you would probably just stop talking to them and wouldn't think about it again.
Or you'd miss what they were doing.
Yeah, or you miss what they were doing.
Which is really, you don't miss them, you miss what they were doing.
Yeah,
that's why that's a foggy area.
You miss the material things.
Now, into broadcasting. Okay, when did you first decide? This all started, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this all started with a Ted Williams video and a restroom, right? Now that's funny to think about. Is it not how it started?
So I've been like,
here we go.
I've been wanting to like, media's always been interesting to me. I've always wanted to do it, but I didn't actually bring up the idea until I saw the whole Ted Williams thing on Snapchat where it was on the Scott Spears Now radio. And then I
now explain what happened. You were on break.
So I was on break and I went to the bathroom before I came back from break, and I was just on my phone on Snapchat tapping through Snapchat stories. And one of the stories I had was called "What Happened to the Man with the Golden Voice," and I didn't know who that was, so I tapped on the story. And I just started reading it. He was a homeless man from Columbus who got picked up by the Columbus Dispatch because of his voice, and then he got deals from like Kraft and a whole bunch of other people. And he announced that he was going to run for presidency on Scott's radio station, and I brought that up to Scott because I was like, bro, somebody announced that they were running for president on Scott's radio station. That's dope.
And that was a national Snapchat.
Yeah.
See, big stuff happens here. That's all you need to know. So that, and when we had a conversation, and you said you wanted to get involved some way, and here comes election night. Now, I think I just contacted you that afternoon, wasn't it? It wasn't like much beforehand.
Mm-mm.
You'd never been to, so when I called you and I said, listen, I want you to go be the call-in at the Board of Elections, what'd you think?
I was kind of nervous because I didn't really understand what I was supposed to be doing. So I went to like the Board of Elections and I tried to like pull the doors open and they were all locked, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And then like the resource officer lady came and she was like, who are you here for? And I was like, I'm here for WWGH, and then she let me in.
That'll get you in places. You just tell them you're with WWGH and they'll open those doors. We've had presidential runs start on this station.
I think Andrew helped me out a lot when we were there.
With the Star?
Yeah, with Marion Star. He was really helpful. I asked him so many questions. I felt so bad. But I felt like I was harassing that man.
Now, when you called in that night, because I said listen to the station, and that you'll know what's going on. So Glenn and Sean and I were in the studio that night, and I believe we had some call-ins. What did you make of what we were doing? Because I don't think you had listened much heretofore that night.
I thought it was nice. I've listened to the radio station a few times up until that point, but like only when my phone died and whatnot, because like I couldn't listen to music, so I would switch over to the radio station. But then at some point you got rid of the radio station.
Went digital.
So then that day I listened to it on the way to the Board of Elections, and I listened to it all the way when I was there. I actually got kicked out of the actual like office, the Board of Elections office, because right on the door it says the no cell phone use allowed in the office, and I didn't see it, so I just had the radio on in the office, and then the lady came out and was like, "Oh, we need you to go out to the hallway if you're gonna have that on." And I was like, "I'm so sorry."
So as you're listening, as you're approaching the Board of Elections, do you remember what was on, and do you remember what you were thinking?
I don't remember what was on, but I do remember thinking that, like, I really did just like, I was like, man, I hope I don't mess this up.
And you didn't. You did very well that night.
Oh, it was super confusing. I'm not gonna lie.
But you got it done.
Yeah.
You got the results called in. And what did you, because this is really your first broadcasting gig, May of 2023, what did you learn that night about broadcasting? Because you never went to broadcasting school, by listening to what we were doing and by doing what you were doing. What did you learn?
I learned that a lot of it is like trial and error. Like I even apologized to Andrew. I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm new to the whole media thing," and he was like, "No, I understand. It's a learning curve." So at least he says said that like it's confusing at first. It's hard to like get the hang of, but I think I've done a pretty alright job.
I think so. And then, after we did this, the next thing I believe was we were relaunching the Friday show. And I said, we need to add people to this show. Sean and I were doing it, and I thought you would be good because I know you wanted a regular spot. And so then you were now a part of a show in the studio. What do you remember about your first night coming in to do that?
First night I was also nervous because I didn't know what we were going to talk about or anything like that. So I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to say. But it was all right. Sean told me to just play off of what everybody else said, and I would do okay. And you did. It was nice. It was super, like, the first night was honestly one of my favorites.
What do you remember about the first night?
I don't even remember what we were talking about. I'm gonna be honest. It was just fun. It felt like we were there for 30 minutes and then we left. And I was like, man, already?
So you've been doing this now for about 2.5 months. What have you learned? Now, because there have been many weeks that have changed. We had Camden twice. Sean was absent once. We had Olivia there one time. Mary Ellen Withrow was with us one time. So there have been comings and goings on that show. What have you learned from that?
If you're gonna do something, advertise it. you
Advertise.
You like to say that a lot. But also, a lot of guests will say that they're gonna come in, but don't. I mean, I get it. People could be busy sometimes, but that's a big one too. You can't. Even if somebody says they're gonna do something, you can't fully expect them to do it. You have to like be prepared to like work around it. And
as time has went on, what do you make of that Friday night show? Now you say the first one you were nervous. It was a favorite of yours. It felt like a half hour. So now when you come in on Fridays, 8:15 to 10 p.m., what's it like?
Now I'm just excited to see what we're gonna talk about tonight. That's usually what it is.
Do you have a favorite moment in these 12, 13 shows that we've done?
I like the one with Mary Ellen Withrow.
You like Mary Ellen coming in?
Yeah, Mary Ellen's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's interesting that you've warmed up to her because a lot of people have a little intimidation about her.
I mean, I don't know. I think Mary Ellen's pretty cool. She's well spoken. She makes a lot of sense. I feel like she knows what she's talking about.
What was it like to be a part of a story that night? That was the night of the Trump federal indictment. It had just happened 3 hours earlier. Here we've got a lady from the federal government sitting right there talking about it. I mean, it was really a newsworthy night.
I agree. I was stoked that night because like I didn't know who Marilyn Withrow was until I met her at your cookout that time, but it was nice. Like
maybe you just meet people at my cookouts. That's why I have cookouts, so we can have meet and greets with people.
It was nice. It was a good day.
That's right. You did come to a cookout at my house.
Yeah.
What'd you make of that? Because we were not that close before. We worked together a while. You'd never been to a cookout. What'd you make of that?
The cookout was nice. I ate a hamburger. Hamburger was pretty good.
And you met Mary Ellen Withrow.
Yeah, Mary Ellen Withrow made some potato salad.
I believe she did. Did you Google that Mary Ellen before you came to that thing?
I don't think I did before I came to that because you had talked to me about her a few times before, but I remember looking her up and I was like, oh, I was like, she's a treasurer. That's cool. And that was it. Like for some reason, people in the government, unless it was like literally the president, I don't think it's not that shocking to meet him because I don't think people in the government don't get as much recognition as I feel they should unless you are the president. And the president gets too much recognition for how little he does.
Now, be honest in these assessments, because in your short time here, which has only been about 2.5 months, you have, and we're going to talk about this whole female problem on Friday night here in a second as well, but you've gotten to meet and get your picture taken. You've got quite a portfolio now of well-known people that you've been around. So let's start where we're, and just give me a thumbnail sketch of the people. Now, be honest. This is an honesty test here. Mary Ellen Withrow.
Mary Ellen Withrow. There's Barnett. Can't think of his first name. Met him today.
Well, give me a thumbnail sketch. I'll run through the list for you. Mary Ellen Withrow. What would you say about her? For somebody who's never met her.
Oh, I love Mary Ellen Withrow. She for how like.
Watch the age thing. She'll come find you.
For how long she was in the federal government, she still has a she definitely still has like her like she definitely still has man, what's the word? She definitely has all of her thoughts there. I don't know how to phrase it, but she's very she's all there. She's very smart. I think she's probably one of my favorite people that I've met that I don't talk to on a regular basis.
Opal Covey. Now, Opal Covey, for you don't know, Opal Covey ran for mayor of Toledo, and Matt came up. We had called her on the phone on the Friday night show, and Matt really wanted to meet this person. He drove all the way to Toledo, and we sat in a McDonald's and taped a show like this. By the way, it's on YouTube if you want to find it. Opal Covey, Scott Spears, and you can catch that episode. But the amazing Opal Covey.
Opal has got to be one of the best people to interview just because she's so funny. She'll do just about anything, say just about anything. She believes everything she says. It just makes it so much, it's just so good.
Channel 4 weatherman, Ben Gilbert.
Ben was he's a weatherman through and through. we talked about the weather on the radio, well on the clip, and then when the clip stopped, he did not stop talking about the weather. I thought that was pretty funny.
And I thought a seminal moment was the man with the golden voice, Ted Williams, because that's where this all started. Yep. So that now there's a video with you and he and pictures and the whole 9 yards, as they say. So what was it like to finally meet this man? Because that to me seemed like a full circle moment.
So I don't watch a lot of TV or anything like that. So celebrities don't have a lot of shock and awe factor from me. But when I met Ted, I was like, man, this dude. I was like, this dude's the one who ran for president. He ran for governor. It was. I don't know. I was excited to meet Ted.
And what did you figure out as that interview was being conducted?
Ted, he's eccentric. He got a lot of energy in him.
He certainly does. He certainly does. And today we just met Larry Barnett, Major League umpire. What'd you make it? You sat there for that whole 2 hours? You came earlier than I thought you were going to come this morning because you were going to take some pictures. You ended up coming early. So you were here at 7:30 this morning.
Larry Barnett was nice. Also one of the also one of the more interesting of the interviews I've been here through, because of the whole World Series thing. Also, I didn't know he was the youngest umpire to be get brought into the league. He was interesting.
Have you learned anything? Because on Friday night, essentially, outside of Mary Ellen Withrow and a few calls with Opal Covey, that's more of a local show. What have you learned about watching these national people be involved in interviews and being around them? What have you learned about them?
People who are known on the national level are very good at talking. They're very charismatic people. They're great at interviews. A lot of them are, well, not a lot of them. I don't think I've met one that's not, but so all the ones that I have met at least are very nice people. They're all super nice.
Now, what's your family's reaction to all of a sudden you know, working at Kroger, and now all of a sudden within 2.5 months, we just rattled off like 5 names there that you know have pictures with and experiences with?
I don't know. They don't talk we don't really talk about it all that much. People who don't know about we had cookout at my grandma's house not that long ago for Father's Day, I think, and we have a family friend named Robert. He was there. He didn't even know that I was on the radio. Most of the people who talked to me about it would be like my grandma and my aunt, and they just wanted to know how I got
started.
I got started on the radio.
But now they had some good things to say about. I did not know your grandma was your grandma until she walked up to me in Kroger one day and she said something. I really enjoy your interviews, and she said I'm Matt's grandma.
I didn't know that. I don't think she ever told me that.
Yeah. So she's listening. So that's good. I like that. I like anybody who listens at this point. That's all that matters. Now for somebody, because in the beginning, obviously you are not the age group necessarily for talk radio, and you were not listening on a regular basis. Now you tend to listen on a somewhat regular basis. What would you tell people in your generation about this station and what content is being put out there?
I like music just as much as everybody else does, but I like to listen to the talk show every now and then because talking about current events and whatnot always interests me. I like to know what's going on, and I like to have I like to hear everybody's opinions. If you read an article online, it's going to be either biased one way or the other, I think, most of the time. So you have to read 2 or 3 articles. Whereas if you listen to a talk show, a lot of the times you get multiple, if not every, opposing viewpoint on the board. So talk shows are really nice for learning and gaining information.
Now, not the guests, because we've talked about the guests now, because you want to be a broadcaster, because you're in that vein. What have you learned about broadcasting from the people you've worked with?
Broadcasting. When you're on the air, you can't just not talk. There always has to be words going on. If somebody's not talking, you have to start talking. People don't put so much thought into what you say as you think they do. People don't think about we've had people come into the show who just for some reason they can't get it because they think that people are going to judge them based on what they say, but most people don't care. They'll listen, and then that'll be it. I don't think I've ever had anybody ridicule me or anything like that.
So if you had to tell somebody if you had to, because you have not hosted your own show yet, if you had to do an hour, your own show, what have you learned? How could you pull it off?
How could I pull it off if I did my own
If you had to book the guests, make it an entertaining show, make it a success, what have you learned?
You got to pick people that people have interest in. If you're going to do something, advertise it. advertise it multiple times. Do it on the air and off the air. Make sure you have dates, like times, that kind of thing.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much have you enjoyed it? 6 weeks in, 8 weeks in.
The radio?
Yeah.
I really enjoy the radio. On a scale of 1 to 10, probably a 9 or a 10.
Did you think you would enjoy it this much?
Yeah. It's been something I've wanted to do forever. Like, forever ago, I used to have a YouTube channel when I was, like, I don't know, 10.
Is it different being in a professional setting with broadcasters and well-known guests?
I think doing anything in a professional setting as opposed to a non-professional setting is different, just because there's more. There's not like too much more, but there's a little more to it. You just, you just act professional, I suppose.
Let's talk about the women problem on the Friday night
Okay.
show. We started off with Camden, and we won't mention their last names, but they also have episodes on this program. If you go to YouTube and search my name, you'll see the episodes with Camden and Olivia. They were the two. I mean, Camden did it twice, and Olivia did it once, and since then we've had a drought. Now, I do think this Friday there's going to be somebody else sitting in, maybe. But what have you seen being the problem there? Let's start with Camden.
I think Camden just thought that Camden just put way too much effort into what she was going to say. When she was going to talk, she would just do a lot of ums and do too much thinking.
Could you feel that this is not going well?
When Camden was on, yeah.
Olivia.
I had a lot of fun when Olivia was on. I'm kind of upset that she only did it the one day. I really liked that show. It was nice.
What do you think eventually became the issue there?
I don't know. It might be the same thing with Camden. I think that maybe when her boyfriend, fiance, whatever called in.
That was an interesting moment. You'll have to go back and listen to that in the archives.
I think it threw her for a loop. I don't think she was expecting that, and I don't think she liked it very much.
He disagreed with her, which was different.
Yeah. I think that... I don't know that they necessarily disagreed. I think she just didn't really know how to argue the point. So he called in and switched up the words a little bit. I think they were saying roughly the same thing.
Now, if you could have any job in broadcasting, what would you like to do?
Any job in broadcasting.
Do you want to go to New York and Los Angeles and work for a television station? Do you want to work for a radio station? Do you want to still stay in Ohio? What's the ideal job?
I don't really want to be on TV. I don't really like TV. I'd rather be on the radio. But also, I don't really want to leave Ohio. Everybody I know is in Ohio. Everything I know is in Ohio. What am I going to do in New York? I don't know anybody in New York.
But it goes everywhere. If you're in New York, you could travel around the world.
I mean, New York, there's just too many people in New York. I wouldn't mind.
Too crowded.
Yes. When it's faster to walk places as opposed to drive, there's a problem.
Now, do you have a role model in broadcasting?
A role model? Probably you. Like that, like straight up.
No. I was talking like, Dr. Phil. Or Regis. Or are these people still alive? I
don't watch. See, like, that's the thing. I don't really watch TV. I just always thought it would be interesting because I used to watch YouTube a lot growing up. And YouTube has kind of been like the radio, except it's more like TV because there's clips. But I always just thought it was super interesting.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten in broadcasting?
Best advice in broadcasting. I'm not sure. There's a lot of advice.
Is there anything that you cling to in your mind right now? You say that you have to do that. You have to be that. Or like, do you feel people are instructing you, or do you feel you're learning by watching other people?
I think you learn by watching other people. You see what other people do, and you kind of you don't want to do exactly what they do. You want to do like your own thing, you know. But
that's one of the most important things, and I think that's one of the great lessons of broadcasting is you can learn the fundamentals of broadcasting from other people, but essentially you have to have your own style. Because if you don't, you will fail because you can't be like somebody else.
yeah, it's like, I mean, you've told me before, it's like the worst comes to worst, they don't like you. Best comes to best, they do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the best advice in broadcasting is they're either going to like you or they're going to dislike you. As long as you're yourself, it doesn't really matter in the end. There's nothing you can do to make people like you. So just be yourself, hope people like you. That's the best thing that can happen. And if they don't, you can't do anything about it if they don't.
Yeah. I hope people like like listening to me on the radio.
Well, I think they do. I've not heard any complaints. I think we have a good show on Friday night. I think it's a good thing going. It changed the trajectory of the Friday night show because for a long time it was me with a female co-host for the first 3 years. 2 different girls did it. And I think this is completely different, what we're doing now. And I like it. And we're interjecting things. Like last week we did a top 10 list. And we've had women on the show. And we've done phone calls to people like Opal Covey. And it's just really finding its way. And I think over the weeks it has grown in popularity because of that.
I agree. The Friday show gets better every week. We add, like, obviously things to it. Like you said, the top 10 list. Top 10, I still remember the top 10 list.
Top 10 list was good. I thought the top 10 list, and it was written by somebody else. And
you say Abby made that?
Abby made that.
You should ever write some more top 10 lists.
Well, I think we need one for this coming Friday. So tune in 8:15 to 10 p.m. because we're going to need a top 10 list. And right now we're also working on a fight song. Now tell how the fight song became a thing.
On the last Friday night show, we were talking about George Casotis. He was singing the 117 fight song, and I didn't know what 117 was. Apparently, it's a school.
P.S.
But
Public School 117.
yes, but I looked up the River Valley fight song, sang that one. River Valley fight song kind of mid compared to the 117, you know.
117's got it.
But now he wanted us to make our own, so we're gonna do that.
And it's my understanding we have one, but you don't like it.
No.
And then there's you've tried to create one that's just a line. I've heard that from spies that you're trying to give me one that's just a line.
Bro.
Now it has to be a song. It has to be like 7 or 8, 10. You know, George Casotis takes a minute 28 to sing. I think.
Yeah, but
we need a minute 28.
I got a jingle.
No, we need a minute 28. We need a minute 28.
Okay.
Okay, Matt. Look, we got about a minute and a half left here. Pitch the Friday show. Tell them where they can catch you and how they can catch you on WGH Talk.
All right. So you can listen on You can listen on WWGH 1071.com. They're live 24 hours on there, and you can also listen on the TuneIn app. It's free. You can download that on the phone, or you can get it on the computer. And when you download it, just search up WWGH, and it'll be from Marion, Ohio, and you can listen to us.
When are we live?
8 to 10:15 every Friday.
And will they have fun?
Oh, of course. It's always fun.
They'll have fun. Sean Kraft, myself, and Matt Morgan. And who knows who will be on that show. Now, Matt's going to join us next week here on the television show. And we're going to talk current events, things going on in the world, and maybe take the Proust questionnaire. For this episode, this is Scott Spears for Matt Morgan heading for the dugout.